Looking back on the week that was and forward to the week ahead. It's the Fantasy Football Hustle. Here are your hosts, Brian Drake and Dwayne McFarland.
All across the fantasy universe, welcome into another special edition of the Fantasy Football Hustle powered by Pro Football Focus. Brian Drake joined alongside my main man, the analytical assassin, Dwayne McFarland of Pro Football Focus. Dwayne, we're doing another puppy draft. Now it's the puppy 2 ready to rock and roll here. And we lucked out getting the same draft because these things fill so damn fast, man. And you're at the back, and I think I'm at 1-6.
Yeah, you're in the middle. I love the middle. That's my favorite. That's my favorite spot to draft from. But I've drafted a couple already today, or 3 today. 2 of them I've picked from like 11 and 12 already. I have picked 12 again. So glad to be back in the swing of it with Underdog. When the puppy was away, I just did some stuff over at DraftKings, but fun to come back and do a different format.
No question about it. And if you want to get in on these drafts too, just use our promo code HUSTLE, and it's going to save you, or it's going to get you a $100 sign-up bonus. So if you sign up, we're going to get you 100 bonus bucks. There's no better way to do it. Think of all the puppy drafts you can do with 100 extra dollars. Just go over there, plunk down 100. We'll match the 100. Use promo code HUSTLE. So let me get the draft board up and running so people can see what we're doing here. I'm on the clock. Christian McCaffrey fell all the way to me at the 1-6.
That's why I love drafting in the middle. Makes it freaking easy.
Oh my God.
I've watched people just draft value from there and not know anything about strategy and destroy a draft.
Well, I mean, I'll destroy this draft, but it's going to be for other reasons. So, all right. Christian McCaffrey is my pick here at the 1-6. Holy smokes. If that happened to you in like an FFPC draft, how out of your mind would you be going right now?
I'd be excited, but it's going to happen. Like I've had him fall to me at 6 a couple of times now. Because just sometimes people are scared of McCaffrey. They're really hung up on the injury. He's going to get hurt, just going to be hurt. So it's just one of those things, man. And just once I want to turn Devontae Adams and Travis Kelce. It never, ever works. So I'm just pivoting away. It's my turn now. Let's go with CeeDee Lamb.
Ooh, love it.
And let's go ahead and get Barkley. So Barkley, 25 years old, every down back, number 1 overall draft pick pedigree. Like he's just, look, man, he's too young to be done. We saw what he could do his rookie season. And I think honestly, like he's the arbitrage play on McCaffrey and all these other guys. And I used to be able to pair Barkley with McCaffrey, like pretty much in any draft you wanted to. And that's honestly the beauty of these puppies. I love how they're divided up, right? So let's say in the first puppy, you could have started easily with McCaffrey, Barkley, and at one point you could have got McCaffrey, Aaron Jones, and Barkley. But what's nice about the puppies and how they split them up is for the people that got those, that's great, but they're time boxed. Now we're in a new period, right, with new ADPs. And so you don't have to worry so much about the people that drafted early that built these huge stacks. And if you deal with injuries, everybody else has got to deal with the same injuries within this time box. So I really love Underdog and the style that they do with the puppies, from that standpoint.
I was going to take Leonard Fournette because the Panthers and the Bucks play in week 17. And again, this is a championship where you 1 through 14 weeks of the regular season, then week 15 is a playoff, 16 is the semifinals, and week 17 is the finals. But he went off the board right in front of me. So I took your boy Javonte Williams. I wasn't going to let him fall all the way back to the end of round 2 to you. So I started CMC Javonte Williams. I'll take that any day of the mother effing week.
Yeah, the only thing I wouldn't have done it. I love Javonte, but I would much rather take Aaron Jones and let Javonte fall back to me. Then I get a freaking crush start, right? That I'm hoping.
I knew he wasn't going to come back to me,
but he does. He makes it back. I've seen him. He almost made it to me earlier. He went at round 3, pick 11. Like,
would he have come back to me with you picking on the end?
I'm not picking on the end. Like you had another pick before me.
Oh, well, you know what I mean. Like, I don't
No,
think he
I
would have came
don't.
back.
That's what I mean. He would have. Yeah, there's a really good chance he comes back. Look, I love Javonte, but what you're trying to do in this tournament is you also got to get lucky, and you need to really have some value fall your way. So you take Aaron Jones and you give yourself a shot at also getting Javonte. You got to play the odds that way. If you reach all the time in these drafts, you're probably not. It doesn't mean you can't do well, and there's plenty of picks left for you. But I like trying to leave myself with that upside. His ADP has moved up. Used to, you could get him in the mid third easy. Now he goes in the early third. But sometimes people are just off of him. They're like, man, I don't want him because of Melvin Gordon. So you got to give yourself a shot. You got people like in front of you taking Zeke. Like this kind of stuff happens.
See, we were in this spot last time. I had Josh Allen now fall to me in my lap again. I can take Josh Allen, or I could take someone like a James Conner and really blow up with this running back start. I'm going to still go with Josh Allen. We're trying to score the most points here. But what I would have liked there is, I could have gotten Tom Brady to go along with this correlation. I can get Russell Wilson. You can still get Mahomes. But seeing Josh Allen there, it's one of those things. It's like, how do you pass that up when he's staring you right in the face versus taking James Conner?
Yeah, I think you can make arguments either way. I mean, I like to draft Allen. I typically only do it when I have Diggs, but there's a good chance that Gabriel Davis comes back to you in the next round, right? I mean, Gabe Davis is pretty commonly a mid-round 4 pick. He should be more like an early 5th, but because people take Josh Allen in the middle of the 3rd round, and I think that pushes his ADP up, right? And that's why he goes, because people are like, oh my God, I can stack him with him. All right, so I'm going to go Cortland Sutton.
Nice.
And I'm going to go ahead and take Travis Etienne. Earlier, I was in a draft where I got Kamara 10 spots after ADP, which I would be open to. I just don't, the problem I have with Kamara, Drake, and you can tell me what your thoughts are, is he could be suspended anytime, right? He might play the first 4 games of the season where I'm like, oh, yeah, great, Kamara, right? And then he gets the 6-game suspension. What if it's week 8? And he gets the 6-game suspension? Like, there's just so many, and it may be more than 6 games. There's video of this incident. We know how the NFL reacts to video. So that's my challenge. We could be, the worst case would be Kamara plays the first 6 or 7 games for you, and then all of a sudden gets suspended for the rest of the season. So I like Kamara, but I only take him when he falls past ADP. So typically where the sweet spot for me on Kamara is, and he's only made it there to me once, it's about the middle of the 4th round. Right now, he's falling towards you, Drake. You're going to have a shot at him.
He is. And he's a guy where I don't think they're going to suspend a guy middle of the season. They like to get these things done beforehand. And here he just fell to me. There is no Gabe Davis shot for me anymore. So I am going to take Alvin Kamara right here.
Yeah, I think it's an easy pick. Now you have those 3 crushing running backs plus Josh Allen.
And here's what I like about that too, Dwayne. If you look at now, where can I pivot to try to get this correlation everyone talks about? From the players I have currently, and you're going to correlate with teams that are fucking crushing. Panthers, Bucks, Broncos, Chiefs, Bills, Bengals, Saints, they play the Eagles in week 17. So, I mean, it's not like you're going and you're saying, okay, I got to get guys now on the Giants, on the Jets, all these bad teams. Like, if you're just loading up with those 8 teams, you're going to come out of a best ball draft with some really good freaking players.
Yeah, where'd you hear that from?
It's some podcast, Dynasty Nerds /pod/ whatever.
I think there's an article you can read on that.
I know I've retweeted the shit out of it for the past week. Make sure people go over and read it. Make sure you're following the show account at FF Hustle. We're on Instagram. We're on TikTok. Good luck finding our TikToks there. And, of course, on YouTube, Fantasy Football Hustle. All right, so I'm coming around again here at pick 54. And you hate this guy, but I'm going to keep pulling the trigger here, Dwayne, and I'm going to take Juju Smith-Schuster.
No, it's fine. It's access to the Chiefs.
Exactly.
You're getting in the 5th round. It gives you a chance versus Denver. I've been sprinkling in some Juju here lately. I'm definitely underweight versus the field on him. But where he's going, and I can still do a lot of other things that I like. When he doesn't make it to me, or whenever I take him and then coming back around the turn. So I've warmed some to it. I'm not as crazy about Juju as some people are, for sure.
Dwayne squad right now: CeeDee Lamb, Saquon Barkley, Cortland Sutton, Travis Etienne.
This is what I mean. Kyler just went off the board. Like the days of getting Kyler in the 6th, they're gone. They're over. And this is what it should have been. Like when you're staring at David Montgomery and J.K. freaking Dobbins, F off, man. Take Kyler Murray. Like Darnell Mooney, Chris Godwin. I'm sat here staring at a bunch of freaking trash right now. Like it's really tough. Like where I'm drafting, I'm probably honestly just going to get aggressive here and take Godwin and Russell Gage and see if I can come back with Brady.
Oh, I had Russell Gage queued up.
Yeah, you're not getting him because I don't want J.K. Dobbins. Right. And just out of principle to mess with ADP, I'm going to take Russell Gage first. Then I'm going to take Godwin. And Godwin I could be without for a while. So we'll see. The news broke today that, he's going to be ready by the first, day of camp. Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens. But I was fine doing it because I already had the 2 backs. So I didn't really feel like I was jammed up, and needing to do anything else. And man, I just don't like David Montgomery. I don't like the Bears offense. He's a plotter. He can be a good receiving back, but I'm just worried that he has the perfect profile to just be replaced, right? Where it's like, yeah, you're really not an every down back anymore. And that's why he falls down the boards. But J.K. Dobbins coming off the ACL, MCL, still hasn't practiced. Don't want it. Lamar Jackson's going to still touch us. Gus Edwards is going to still touch us. Tyler Beatty's going to still snap, going to still, passing down snaps. I don't want to mess with J.K. Dobbins. Josh Jacobs, I've got a little bit of, he does play in the AFC West. Gets to play the NFC West and the out of division schedule. So that's nice. But again, another back that they've just never let be involved in the passing down, work. And if I really am trying to smash, I want players like the ones that I've already drafted, Saquon Barkley and Travis Etienne, that can be true every single down backs and just can blow it up from a reception standpoint and have the ability to make explosive plays. I'd rather have players, all things perfect. You want players on quality offenses, but we've seen historically running backs that play on bad teams. It doesn't really matter if they're really good in the passing game. They can make up for it with those receptions, like we've seen in the past with Barkley. We've seen in the past with CMC. So we've got plenty of examples. So Barkley with the Giants, Etienne with the Jaguars. Not great teams, but their profiles work well. And who'd you take here, Drake?
I got stuck in a spot where, my team needs some wide receivers at this point. I have 3 really good running backs with McCaffrey, Javonte, and Kamara. I already have my quarterback. So at tight end, like Dalton Schultz is there, Hawkinson's there. And at wide receiver, I'm kind of like, none of these guys really correlate to me. It's like Drake London was a name I was thinking of. Michael Thomas was there. Hunter Renfrow is a little too early for him. I could probably get him my next pick. I like him a lot. So I took DeAndre Hopkins, just looking for, hey, he doesn't kind of work with anything I'm doing correlation wise, but he's a great player. And there's nothing to say that in those playoff weeks,
you're setting everything. If you draft players from the AFC West and NFC West, it doesn't even matter. You're going to naturally get correlation no matter what, because that's 56% of the teams that are scheduled to score 50 points or more come from those 2 divisions. So all you got to do is just keep taking them. And guess what? Eventually they get to play each other on the schedule. And then later in the draft, you can worry about the week 17 stuff.
I'm coming up again. Just going to keep hammering these wide receivers right here. I
know you have to with your start. You can't let off.
There's could I take Dalton Schultz here? Sure. I love the tweet you put out the other day. Like, is Dalton Schultz going to help you win your league? You're like, hell no, it's not.
Well, this is where I'm willing. Like right now, how many you're picking at pick 78 and he's normally
well
60,
past ADP.
You're getting him 12 past ADP. You have to do things like this. Like you have to give yourself a chance by grabbing some of these ADP values when they fall to you. I'm not saying you have to do it right here with this pick, but that's where monster teams come from. It's a mix of your stacks, having the right strategy, and then some things just falling your way. And that's why we do so many drafts, to be honest, is to give yourself as many shots at things like that.
I like being in the middle of the draft here too, because it keeps coming and going back to me. I'm never too far off a run. I can take Schultz there because he's still going to be a top 6 tight end for the most part.
Yeah. And what's funny is typically Tom Brady has been slipping. The one time I take both Bucks, some dude just freaking reached for him.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So that's fun.
Trey Lance coming off the board too, right after him.
Yeah, we're 2 picks away from me. Yeah, and that was my other pick. It was going to be Russ Wilson. Yeah. So let's see here. on me. I'm going to go ahead and take Dak so I can get my CD Lamb, Dak Prescott stack. Not the worst thing to have in the world. And now I'm just looking at, do I want to go with Michael Thomas or go ahead and grab Edwards-Helaire, who gives me access to that Kansas City offense? I think that is what I'm going to do. Yeah. I don't have a ton of Helaire. I started off getting him, and then I cooled on him. Technically, he has a similar profile to the guys that that I just talked about with Barkley and ETN, but he's on a good team. Problem with Helaire is he's just not explosive, man. He's not a guy that you're just like, oh my God, like at any time he could break it. Like we really need the Chiefs to redesign their offense a bit and give him some of those underneath looks. And here's the thing, like if for some reason the other guys can't get it going. Juju got a deteriorating profile. He could completely flop. MVS never has shown anything. Great. You're playing with Patrick Mahomes. Awesome. Guess what? You just got through playing with Aaron Rodgers. Kelsey's getting older. It could just be Kelsey and the running backs. And we've seen Andy Reid historically be willing to feed the running backs in the passing game. So that's the path to upside for Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So I still want to make sure I have a little bit of exposure. And again, gives me access to the AFC, NFC West stacks that I want, which I've already got Cortland Sutton from Denver. Every player I've taken besides the two running backs come from my Super 12 stacks. Like that's the 12 teams that make up 92% of the teams that have or of the games projected for over 50 points or more this season. So kind of able to stick with that strategy. Didn't quite get the quarterback thing to work out, which, it just happens and it sucks.
I'm back up on the clock. Oh boy.
God, the guy that took Brady didn't even have freaking Mike Evans. Like this is just a complete noob. A noob just torpedoed my plan. That's the beauty of fantasy football, Drake.
I know you're not going to like this, Dwayne, because I'm taking him ahead of ADP, but I don't like the other guys here. So what are you going to do? Is I took Sky Moore. So now I've got multiple pieces in that Kansas City attack to go along with, my Denver Javonte bringback. So hopefully Denver jumps out to a big lead. They got to throw all over the place with Sky Moore and Juju Smith-Schuster. The only other guy on the board there was Mike Evans and Alan Lazard.
You mean Michael Thomas? Mike Thomas would have been my pick. Like just because he's 12 picks past ADP. You don't want exposure. But here's the deal, man. If you're going to do a bunch of these, I'm just telling you, you don't want exposure to Mike, Thomas at ADP. But when he falls past it, that's when you grab him because he can be a 150 target receiver. So it's fine, but you don't have Patrick Mahomes. So it's not like I'm super excited about getting two pieces to the Chiefs offense when I don't have Mahomes. I want one for sure. And if at value Sky Moore falls back to me, I'm great. But Michael Thomas, you need to have exposure to in your drafts, but you don't want it at ADP. So when you're in a draft like this, where he basically just fell to you like 15 spots past, like I definitely would have pulled the trigger on it. But look, to each his own.
Mm-hmm. Now I'm up next here. Alan Lazard's fallen way past ADP. Devin Singletary and James Cook. I do have Josh Allen, so I could pull the trigger on one of those guys. Oh my gosh. Let's see here. You know what? I just think the best player in this grouping here is Bobby Trees, Robert Woods. Doesn't help anything I'm doing, but hey, along the way, he's going to score points all season long. He's going to be the number one wide receiver, in my opinion, in that offense. So I'll take him there. And, not everything in the world has to correlate, but I think I got a good player there without reaching for, let's say, a James Cook, who I could probably get my next pick anyways.
Yeah, maybe. He's definitely in my queue.
You bastard. Take Chase Edmonds like we do in every other
draft. You know what I like? I want the explosive pass receiving backs and one that plays in an all-out, offense. Yeah, I'm in.
I got a few guys that I'm looking at here because I saw Cordell Patterson on the board. Derek Carr, could snag him. Cook, Edmonds. Of course, hey, there's Kirk Cousins. If you didn't watch the last show, I think I drafted every player that's ever played for Minnesota, and I didn't have Kirk Cousins as my quarterback. So Dwayne's up for a pair. There goes James Cook from Buffalo. Thanks a lot.
Sorry, bro.
Let's see. And in Rondell Moore, your favorite diminutive wide receiver out there in the desert. What kind of year do you think Rondell Moore can have?
I needed another receiver. I wanted access again to the AFC and NFC West. So it was a tiebreaker. Like Garrett Wilson and Rondell Moore, they're the same thing to me. to be honest. But one plays in a really good offense and the other one doesn't. I like Garrett Wilson. I really do like him. So I have plenty of access to, I've got plenty of exposure to him. But yeah, I wanted to go ahead and get the fourth back, and it'll give me a chance, like, coming back, I can look at some of the other, running backs, but I'm going to have to address tight end, here at some point. The other option there was potentially Zach Ertz, but I have a ton of exposure to him because I got so much Kyler early on.
Yeah.
That I was taking pretty much when Ertz would fall past ADP at any point, like I would just take him and stack him with Kyler, Murray. So
I think we got people timing out here in the drafts. I'm trying to look down my pairings here, see who I could get. I'm just throwing some backup tight ends in my queue.
And lesson, like, people, when you try to set up these stacks, like when I double tap Gage and Godwin, one thing I like about doing it is once you do it, you take 2 bullets off, right? So anybody that's thinking, oh, my quarterback needs to be stacked, that sometimes, actually a lot of times, it causes Brady to just fall. He'll just fall down the board. Didn't happen this time. A guy that didn't even have Brady decided to take him. That triggered a quarterback run right in front of me, which also triggered Russell Wilson, who I could have stacked with Cortland Sutton going off the board. So sometimes the things don't work, but fortunately, I still had CeeDee Lamb, and it gave me a backup stack with Dak Prescott. The number one way we want to stack our teams is quarterback and receivers. Yes, we like the game stacks. We want all the other correlations, but the number one way is really still through your quarterback, connecting with the other players on their roster.
I'm looking at my roster here. You know what? I think I would have liked this roster more, Dwayne, if I would have let Josh Allen go by. And then I would have just tried to work off, I could have looked for a Brady, Mahomes, Russ Wilson, and worked.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I don't draft Josh Allen, and hardly ever, unless I have Diggs or he falls well past ADP. And I only have him twice. I have Diggs. Well, I have him twice. I have him 3 times total. Once over on DK and then twice here. On 2 of the teams, I have Diggs. On the other one, I did make sure to get Gabriel Davis. Actually, on the other one, I don't think I did. I think it was one where Allen just fell. On one of the teams, I have Diggs and Davis. One of the teams, I just have Diggs. On the other one, it's just Allen naked, but he fell to me.
I just took Jameson Williams. I just think he's a guy who is exactly what you're looking for in a best ball format. As the season goes on, he's only going to get stronger. He's only going to get better and come into his own. He's a Tyreek Hill type player. Like, he is so explosive. If he didn't have that injury at the end of his college career, I mean, he could have even gone higher in drafts. And I think more in the fantasy Twitter would be just losing their minds for how good Jameson Williams really is. A player that electric, you're getting in the 11th round. Yes, it's Denver, but we've talked before about how Jared Goff can support these guys, and he's got so many weapons out there. If Jameson Williams is at 85, 90%, he's better than anything Detroit has seen since Megatron. So I'm excited to get him on the team. Think he can have some big weeks
in
the playoffs.
Easy. You got to deal with Amon-Ra St. Brown, bro. Dude, Amon-Ra's going to crush it. Everybody, you guys keep laughing.
Hey, I enjoyed Amon-Ra. I have nothing against the guy, but I think Jameson Williams is a stud.
I like Jameson Williams, but Amon-Ra St. Brown's already proven he's a stud. All right. Jesus. So, yeah, see, yeah, I was taking Albert O there, and a dude reached 20 picks past, so I couldn't reach 20 picks past. That, like, almost pushes me off of tight end. I mean, we're at pick 130, but God, it's going to get so crazy. All right, let's go ahead and grab Jacoby Myers. Oh, my God, really? Did Isaiah Spiller go too? No, he didn't. I'm just going to draft him. This tight end team is going to be interesting. But wanted to go ahead and grab the other, got me another access point to the AFC, NFC West with Isaiah Spiller. He's going to relieve already. Austin Eckler just has to deal with Larry Roundtree and Josh Kelly. Come on, folks. Like, the only reason Isaiah Spiller fell to the 4th round in NFL drafts is because he ran slow. Like, he should have been a 2nd round pick as far as his talent profile goes. But at the end of the day, he doesn't have the draft capital, so they could easily not use him. But it's still higher than what they spent on any of those other backs. And if for some reason Austin Eckler goes down, it's another back that has an every down profile, can work as a good receiver out of the backfield. So now pretty much every back on my team has that. Barkley, Etienne, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, James Cook, Isaiah Spiller. A lot of access to really good teams, good offenses, or players that we think could get that every down role and have explosive upside as far as, rushing, beside Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who runs like a 4.8 apparently. And you got that upside for the PPR.
Going to take Jarvis Landry here, who I seem to pick in every single draft, because I can come back and get Jameis here, hopefully in another round or two as my QB2. Let's see. And also some other guys I'm looking at here is maybe another little stack with Devontae Parker and some of the guys in New England along with Mac Jones.
Well, good luck. I've already got Jacoby.
Well, I'll take the wide receiver 1 on that team and Devontae Parker. We got to make some kind of bet on that with Devontae Parker and.
I'll bet whatever you want. It's Jacoby Myers. I'll bet you $1,000 that Jacoby Myers leads Devontae Parker in targets by probably 20%. I mean,
we work in fantasy.
Devontae Parker
we can't afford
$1,000
on anything.
I know, but that's how confident I am in this one. I mean, Devontae Parker, good God. Like, let's just move on.
Oh, someone took him, you bastard. Somebody must be listening to the pod.
I love it. Well, hopefully nobody else is listening because, like, the tight ends are all going. Drake and I have 0.
Oh, boy. I know. I've got 2. I took Zach Ertz out from underneath you. Come on, fish boy, whoever's in front of me here.
Oh, God, yeah. There goes another tight end. Jesus Christ. Gerald Everett's one of my favorites, too. Yep, here they go.
Well, I'll
ball game.
So the only tight ends left on the board right now are Tanyan, Higbee, Fant, and Njoku.
Yeah, I'm like just praying for Higbee at this point. Hell, I may have to turn Robert Tonyan and Higbee. Definitely need 3 tight ends on this team. But the good news is I already have 5 backs. I got the quarterback I want. I'm sitting at 6 receivers. So it just didn't, and again, this is why, like, when the value falls and certain drafts work certain ways, you just have to take it, because like there are other drafts where the board just goes totally wrong for you. Like, it's really random for Brady to go off the board in front of you when somebody doesn't have any of the Bucks, right? It's also a situation where I saw Albert O go off the board in front of me 20 picks ahead of ADP. And typically when I miss on tight ends, he's my priority here, Irv Smith. Okay, it's on me. So I got to go ahead and take Tyler Higbee. And then, Jesus, I'm just going to go ahead and take Tonyan right here. Like, he's past ADP like by 20 picks. I'm really not crazy about him, but I just have to have bullets. I may roster 4 tight ends on this team.
Yeah, I mean, what can you do? You need one of those seasons
I can be
where
done
guys
at running back. I've got Barkley, Etienne, CEH, James Cook, Isaiah Spiller. Basically, you just bet on being right with those
exactly.
Picks. I've got the receivers already with Lamb, Sutton, Gage, Godwin, Rondell Moore, Jacoby. I need one more because Gage could start the season slow. And Rondell could finish the season slower, right? Once DeAndre Hopkins is back. So I need another receiver still. I'm going to have another quarterback. Mac Jones is definitely in play for me with having Jacoby Myers. Like, that would be a potential stack option. That's really all I have, because my receivers, when you go after the high scoring teams, that's the one problem, is you don't leave yourself stacks later for quarterbacks. Because, I've obviously got Dak on my team, but Russ Wilson, it goes with Cortland Sutton. Tom Brady goes with the Bucks. Kyler Murray goes with Arizona. So Jacoby Myers is really my only option, because even with Higbee and Tonyan, they play with good quarterbacks. So they're not available.
What are your thoughts on Taysom Hill this year? Because I'm throwing some tight ends for a third for me in the queue. I've got a couple of Saints already. Who knows if he ever gets to play quarterback or not? But you think they're ever going to have a package for him, maybe around the goal line like they used to? Especially maybe if we see Kamara not there for a while, he could play running back a ton. I mean, it's him and Mark Ingram and a bunch of scrubs.
Yeah, I mean, Evan Silva speculated on this week's Establish the Run episode. I definitely don't rule it out. It's definitely a last round pick. And it's also, honestly, I wouldn't do it unless I had quarterbacks. I mean, unless I had tight ends that are as crappy as mine. Like if I started with Dalton Schultz, like Taysom Hill's not really what I'm looking for. In my opinion, at that point, it kind of becomes a wasted pick. But if I missed out on everything and I'm sitting on Tyler Higbee and Robert Tonyan, then I would entertain it. But I mean, it's getting, dude, the tight ends are so bare. We're at pick 170. I mean, it really happened a round ago. But we were definitely well ahead of ADP on a lot of these tight ends today. And that's, again, like every room goes differently, right? The way the draft is going to go.
All right, I'm up next. Some guys still on the board for those watching. Here's a name that's been on Twitter.
You do have Goff available to you, and you drafted Jamison Williams. Like I've been taking Goff quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
But I draft Monra and I draft Jamison quite a bit as well. So
I bet I could get him. I'm going to try to hold it and get him coming back. And I'm going to take Marvin Jones here.
Yeah, I would rather you hold it because that way maybe Mac makes it to me.
Yeah, Marlon Mack, Mark Ingram, guys I had in my queue. I'm not opposed to the Mark Ingram in the last round with a team like this because I do have Alvin Kamara. Let's say Alvin Kamara gets hurt or is suspended for 6 games. I mean, someone's got to fill that role. I can't leave it to just Javonte and CMC and Kenny Gainwell. So I'm not opposed to that because with some of these teams, I mean, half the team's freaking blown out by week 12 anyways, and you're rolling through a best ball tournament with like 4 guys active.
Right. I love Jamal Williams. He just went the pick in front of me. So I'm going to go ahead and take Mac Jones to go with Jacoby Myers, and I'm going to throw Kendrick Bourne in there. Give me that double New England, receiving stack to go along with Mac Jones. So that gives me Dak Prescott, Mac Jones, Saquon Barkley, Travis Etienne, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, James Cook, Isaiah Spiller, CeeDee Lamb, Cortland Sutton, Russell Gage, Chris Godwin, Rondell Moore, Jacoby Myers, and Kendrick Bourne, plus the 2 crappy tight ends of Tyler Higbee and Robert Tonyan.
I got to pay someone to come to my house and tell me how to stop the mail app from opening up all the time on my freaking screens here. Like half the screen just condenses and my mail app pops up. It drives me insane, but I digress.
You do need to pay someone to come do that or read about it, you boomer.
Dude, I've read it 3 times. I've clicked this, that, and the other thing. It's insane. You know who else is out there still is, I'm on the clock.
Goff is at the top of the quarterback queue if you want him to stack.
He's there, and so is Baker Mayfield. Let's see. Well, I do have Goff, so let's take Goff there. But just
why would you even consider Mayfield?
I want to give people a talking point here. Baker Mayfield with the now with the Browns, with the Panthers. I do have Christian McCaffrey, but
you do have CMC.
What are your thoughts on Mayfield this year for folks just kind of tuning in terms of him with DJ Moore, with Robbie Anderson, with a new lease on life down there with Matt Rule?
Like we feel about most crappy quarterbacks, he's one of them. You just stack him with your receivers. You hope he has a good efficiency year, and if you catch lightning in a bottle, awesome. You never take Mayfield unless you have one of the Panthers. Just like I'm not taking Mac Jones without a Patriot. I'm not taking Jared Goff without a Lion. There's no point. Now, sometimes you could be trying to set something up with certain guys, like maybe a Carson Wentz. But typically, even with him, like I've already got a Curtis Samuel, right, or Jahan Dotson or Terry McLaurin on the squad before I take a Carson Wentz. So, yeah.
Just looking at running back to see who's still there. J.D. McKissick's still on the board. Raheem Mostert, Brian Robinson, our buddy Zamir White, Benjamin. Kenyon Drake is still hanging out.
I love taking Kenyon Drake over in these because no one ever takes him. So if you do hit on him, it's going to be like 0.001% owned. At least over on DraftKings in a 20-round draft. And it's a PPR format, not a half PPR, right? So running backs lose 10% when going from a PPR to half point. Receivers lose 18% going from a full point to a half point. Tight ends lose about 18% going from a full point to a half point. But your receiving backs, can also lose a little bit. So if you've got someone that's strictly dependent on the receiving role, it can hit him a little bit more. So that's part of the factor of why he doesn't get drafted over here. It's a questionable situation, and we don't know if he'll get the targets.
All right, so it's up. Let's see. Am I up yet? I'm up next. My final selection of the day.
Now you got 2 picks left. This
17 and 18. Yeah, now I'm back on the clock here. See, there's a lot of guys here too on the board who I like that don't really correlate to anything that we're doing, but I just like as players.
Well, yeah, and once you get, that's fine. Like I think at some points, you're really not worried about correlation. Like if there's someone you like, like you just take them.
I took J.D. McKissick here just so I could get another running back. He is my 5th. McCaffrey, Javonte, Alvin Kamara, Kenny Gainwell, and J.D. McKissick. We've seen years where J.D. McKissick can put up really good numbers. If Wentz is dropping the ball down to him a ton and they're behind, as Washington is oft to be. I worry about that, though, with J.D. McKissick and this possible 3-man backfield out there. We're looking at Antonio Gibson and Brian Robinson could be sharing this early down work, and then McKissick kind of just cleans up whatever else on 3rd down.
Right.
It's just another mouth to feed with Robinson.
I think that could definitely be in play. So I don't really do this normally, but on a team like this, I need some upside, man. So I'm going to throw Gronk on the end of this.
I like it.
Well, it's just because by the time we get to the playoffs, right, he could sign back with the Bucs, right?
No
and
question.
So all of a sudden, like week 12, Gronk is back. By week 15, 16, he's rolling. Maybe week 17, if you happen to make it through, like Gronk is helping you out. So just throw him on the roster here. The other pick was Zamir White, another access point to that AFC NFC West. He's the guy backing up Josh Jacobs, and in a half point, I like him a little more than Kenyon Drake. But they're still really close, and Kenyon Drake could still easily be the guy. And if the Raiders end up having a shootout all the time, like Kenyon Drake just really has the better profile. If he somehow just wins over the entire receiving role, which he could easily do.
Oh, where's the guy that I wanted? I can't find him now. I wanted Romeo Dubes. Someone snatch him from me? I think someone did. So, well,
use your search button. Yeah, he looks like he's gone.
He must be gone. Someone just.
It's fun when you're talking like we do, and you just don't even notice your player go off the board, and then it's your turn to pick, and you're like, oh, I've just been sitting here doing trying to record a podcast, and the player just went off the board.
Where the hell did he go? I mean, my queue up top is so. I'm back in like the 13th round. Let's see. Yeah, Dubes went 2 picks before me, so I took AJ Green. Just trying to lock down that X receiver role for Arizona. I've got DeAndre Hopkins. He's obviously not going to be there for the first 6 weeks of the season, so we'll plug AJ Green in there. Someone's got to catch passes out there in Arizona. All right, Dwayne. So let's run things down before, how Underdog, as soon as that draft ends, it's like, boom, you're out of here, guys. Draft's over. See ya. And they close things down.
Yeah. Well, we see why. Like, look how freaking quickly everything goes. Yeah. So, let's see here. Do you want me to walk through it by pick or just by my positions? Let's just do it by position. People have been listening along to the draft. Where we took them. So at quarterback, I've got Dak Prescott. And I don't, obviously I'm not taking Dak unless I have a Cowboy. What Cowboy would you rather have than CeeDee Lamb this year in fantasy football? There's not one. So CeeDee Lamb gives you access, obviously, to top 6 wide receiver finish. You're getting him coming around the turn in round 2. So absolutely love Lamb this year. But Prescott, and then I added Mac Jones. I know I'm jumping down here in my receivers, but it just makes sense, right, when we're talking about the quarterbacks. So I had grabbed Jacoby Myers, and then I also turned Kendrick Bourne with Mac Jones. So I've got 2 receivers with Mac Jones, 1 receiver with Dak Prescott. I typically have a stack always, unless I have Justin Fields, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts. I'm willing to go naked with those guys. I like to have a stack with it. Trey Lance is another one. I like having at least 1 player, right, as a stack with them, but I typically never do 2 on those guys. And if I miss, I'm fine going without any stacks. But otherwise, any other quarterback that I'm drafting, I typically want a stack. So Dak, I have a stack. Mac Jones, I have a stack. Saquon Barkley, I reached it a little bit. Pick 13. His ADP is 18. But again, 25-year-old, every down back. If his explosiveness returns, if you look at his injuries, most of the professional community, even our folks, our pros over on Twitter that look at injuries and let us know, which is awesome. Man, talk about one of the major advancements in fantasy football, man. All the great minds we have from the medical community sharing the information about, typical timetables, returns, all that kind of stuff. And everybody that I've seen, if I've missed something, let me know. But everything that I've seen, everybody's like, you should just fade the noise on Barkley as far as injuries. Like, look, he hasn't been fortunate, but his age, everything he's been through last year got unlucky with the ankle sprain. So super excited to get a player like Barkley that, look, if he hadn't been hurt, he might be a top 3 pick this year, right? You might be taking him as pick number 3 after Christian McCaffrey. And so that's the type of ceiling that he has, and that's what I want on my team. Then coming back in the 3rd round, after I'd taken Lamb in the 2nd, I grabbed my next running back with Travis Etienne. Has that receiving profile we want. The Jags are probably going to trail early and often. So even if Robinson comes back, from the pup or doesn't go on the pup, I just think Etienne absolutely owns that passing down work, and he's an explosive playmaker. I'm in half point PPR, folks. You can't just have receivers that just catch passes. You really can't in standard, but you need the touchdowns. So you need a player, if you've got a passing down back, they need to have that explosive upside to break some long, touchdowns for you. And I think Etienne gives you that. Then coming back with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, the opposite of an explosive player, but plays in an absolutely potentially great offense. The Chiefs offense could really take a step back this year, Drake, to be honest. We don't have Tyreek Hill. That's a big change for them. But getting Clyde Edwards-Helaire gives you an avenue that if the Chiefs need to really just change the way that they're going to be attacking, they need to throw more to the running backs, those sort of things. And there's an opportunity to score a lot of touchdowns for Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I do think Ronald Jones handles the short down and distance work. I think Ronald Jones will definitely cut into that early down work. I'm not quite as worried about Jerick McKinnon if Edwards-Helaire has been injured, and that's the one out that I think he has. He's played mostly injured. And then we heard about the gallbladder thing. Maybe we just really haven't seen the full version of Edwards-Helaire. They still have an early round pick invested in him. So again, betting on the Kansas City offense also gives me access. So with my first 2 picks, I had gone with Barkley. Well, I went Barkley, Lamb, and Etienne. So 2 out of my first 3 I didn't really have from good teams. So I definitely wanted to get back on track. Did that with Edwards-Helaire. James Cook, explosive, receiving back. They've been trying to replace Devin Singletary basically since he was born. So the other option is James Cook just gets more. And look, folks, I know Josh Allen's a running quarterback, and I know that means less targets for the backs, but we're also talking about the offense that wants to throw the ball more than any other in the league. And they went so hard after McKissick, didn't get him, and now you get James Cook, and we know they've been trying to replace Singletary. To me, it's just too good to pass up. 9th or 10th round, it really, 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 to me, has shades of Alvin Kamara and what we saw in his rookie year when nobody really wanted to take him. You get him in the 10th round because he was behind Adrian Peterson and Mark Ingram at the time. Then get Isaiah Spiller and Zamir White. So with my running backs, once I took Barkley and Etienne, all the rest come from these teams that are all in the Super 12 shootout, article you guys can check out over on PFF. But Clyde Edwards-Helaire, James Cook, Isaiah Spiller, and Zamir White. Receivers are CeeDee Lamb. Don't need to talk about him. You guys have heard enough. Cortland Sutton, again, another AFC, NFC West option. Russell Gage and Chris Godwin was trying to set up the Brady stack. Got a little bit unlucky on that, but it's okay. It's okay when you get unlucky. The other night, Drake, I had the accidental timeout pick of Kenny Golladay when I already had Kadarius Toney. I don't want to stack the Giants naked, right? The Bucs, it's not so bad, right? It's a team that we know wants to throw the ball a lot. They do have Tom Brady. You can still get plenty of points from your receivers, and you prefer it be stacked. Doesn't have to be. Then Rondell Moore, another option that could see a lot more targets this year. That's in the AFC, NFC West. You got Jacoby Myers, who's just the target, leader in New England. Checks a lot of boxes on the breakout profile. Just needs to catch touchdowns. If he does, he's going to be a wide receiver 2. Grab Kendrick Bourne as well. That just ties back to the Mac Jones pick. And then tight end is really where I missed Drake. The Albert O pick going off right in front of me. And Albert O, you don't necessarily want to go into as your only, but I like having Albert O as an upside option that could explode, right, to be one of these top 6 tight ends. And then a bunch of other guys sitting behind him to rotate. I didn't really end up with that situation. I have Higbee, I have Tunyon, and I have Rob Gronkowski. So the tight end board did not work out. But I do like the fact with Tyler Higbee, he is from the Rams. So again, NFC West, which also plays against the AFC West. I have a ton of correlation on this roster. Players are going to play each other all year long. Robert Tonyan at least does play with Aaron Rodgers. We've seen him score touchdowns before. And then just the dart throw with Gronk that, okay, look, my tight ends suck. I need some help here. So I don't typically take Gronk, but this is the kind of roster build where it just made sense.
No question about it. Make sure, folks, you guys are subscribed to the Fantasy Football Hustle YouTube channel so you get all these great YouTube exclusive shows we do. Tons of drafts all summer long. Of course, find the show on iTunes or Spotify, wherever you get your podcast for the regular show that we crank out every week. So looking at my squad, I wanted to start with this powerhouse running back group because Christian McCaffrey fell to me at the 1-6. Haven't seen that yet this year. Don't have any exposure to McCaffrey as I've been flipping through my exposure email. I love how they do this.
Easily, if McCaffrey's healthy, he's going to outscore Jonathan Taylor. Case closed.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in love with it, especially now that he has a legitimate quarterback in Carolina. Javonte Williams, getting him here in the middle of the second round. I think this is where his ADP is going to settle in once the summer really starts to heat up with these drafts and we get through the puppy too. The hype on him is just out of control. Excuse me. So I'm fine with taking him here. I know we talked about, hey, maybe he'll come back to you in round 3. At this point, the way I wanted to build it with 2 stud backs, I didn't want to wait. I didn't like any of the other backs.
But Aaron Jones is a stud back.
Jones, you know what? I like Javonte Williams more. I think, Javonte Williams, are they both sharing? Sure.
Look, dude, I'm like the Javonte Williams lead cheerleader, so I'm not going to disagree with you. I love him. I also believe that his ADP will creep up to here. It's already moved from the mid-third to the beginning of the third. The only caveat I will give you is when you're trying to play against however many people are in this damn tournament, you've got to build some monster stacks. You got to build some monster rosters. And if you take Javonte there, you just give yourself no chance of him coming back in the third. And so it's also a way to manage exposure. Like if you just take him in the second every time, you're going to have Javonte on every team. And if he gets hurt, you're jacked. So like those would be my caveats. I'm not going to argue about Javonte's profile because I love him. Mm-hmm. Hopefully I'm part of why his ADP is going up. I mean, I've definitely been pumping on him, and I think he deserves to be pumped because he has league-winning upside. But I'll be honest with you, if Javonte gets to where he's going in the middle of the second all the time, it'll throw the brakes on for me. Absolutely. Just because now there are other profiles that I really like that are similar to Javonte, and I'm going to have to mix it up. And I think Aaron Jones is one of those. So it still worked out for you because Kamara came back. Right. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it ended up being really good for you that you just went ahead and passed, or that you didn't do it the way you did, because Kamara would have been sitting there. And honestly, you probably would have just started with the 4 back. I would have still talked you into taking Kamara, even if he was your 4th back, just because you don't get the discount on him. So you got to take it when you can.
To be honest, I would have taken Leonard Fournette. That's who I was eyeing in round 2, is I wanted to start McCaffrey and then Fournette. Not only because you get that week 17.
Well, I like the Fournette one too. They both play in offenses that we think will score points, which you want. Aaron Jones, the more explosive player, better in the passing game, but Fournette's certainly not a dud in the passing game. And we like the Bucs offense better than the Packers. So
yeah, and we know Leonard Fournette can get massive amount of targets, as we've seen the last few years. And with no Antonio Brown, we know Godwin's out for a while. Why can't they lean on Leonard Fournette a little more this year to catch more passes? In the 3rd round, I took Josh Allen, and we chatted about it a few times. It's the 2nd time now we've done a draft, and Josh Allen has been here for me in round 3. I think I'm just going to have to stop doing it. I would have liked this team more if I don't take Josh Allen here.
That's a receiver.
My pick would have been Tyreek Hill. So
is Tyreek Hill still there too?
Yes.
Yeah, you can't pass Tyreek Hill there at that ADP. See, that when you pick in the middle, I'm just going to tell people, take the value, folks. Worry about how you're going to stack things up later, but let the first 3 to 4 rounds dictate that for you. You should do that really from every position. It's harder from the ends, but especially in the middle when you're picking at 5, 6, and 7. These gifts, they just land, in your lap. No, well, Tyreek Hill was gone. Tyreek Hill went at round 3, pick 2, right? And so you had round 3.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I was looking at it going the wrong way.
But still, even then, to your point, you would probably still feel better even if you had DJ Moore or Michael Pittman or Marquise Brown. And then you came back with Kamara, right? And then you come back with Juju. And then you start thinking, okay, now what kind of quarterback stack? Look, you're never going to completely regret taking Josh Allen. The problem is how much later you can get Lamar Jackson and Kyler Murray. That's what makes
Yeah.
it a problem taking Josh Allen early. This particular draft, Lamar Jackson, the owner reached. They took him in the 4th round because they took Mark Andrews in the 2nd round. And you'll see that a lot of times if Lamar goes early, it's typical to the Mark Andrews, manager.
Let's look at, just for shits and giggles here, I want to look at the guy who did take Patrick Mahomes. So Patrick Mahomes went in with the 2nd pick of round 5. And I don't think he has he's got Mecole Hardman. And that's it. Mecole Hardman, the only player that he has to stack with Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
He also has Stafford to go along with Kupp, who he took at the 102.
Usually after each of these drafts, I look at it, and there's usually 2 teams that I'm pretty sure just threw their money away. Like, we don't know for sure because just weird stuff can happen. And it's usually one of 2 things. One, they absolutely create no stacks with their quarterbacks. Number 2 is they're reaching all the time. Those are the 2 easiest ways that I look at teams. I'm like, yep, that team's not going anywhere. Again, I could be wrong. Like we said, stuff happens. But you got to pay attention to those things. In a tournament this large, like, little things are going to matter. And that's why I bring them up, like, while we're drafting, whether it's about my team or yours, like, I, do it with both of us. Because at the end of the day, like, thinking multiple steps ahead, you're playing chess when you play a tournament like this, not checkers. At the end of the day, you have to have the right player profiles, archetypes. You got to get the right players, but you got to construct the roster in a way, right, that you can weave it. And so many players still, it's amazing how many people still don't do that. How many people still don't stack their quarterbacks? How many people still don't think about, just, the quality of the teams and how you might create a potential advantage by having all these players from AFC and NFC West teams. That doesn't mean you can't stop down and grab other really good players like Saquon Barkley, Travis Etienne. Those things happen. But in the end, like, I want these players, really good players. I want enough of them to be from good teams, and you got to be able to correlate, across your lineup, and you got to take value. The other thing I'll see is people that just passed value just to force their stacks. Like, typically, again, think about it. Anyone that wants to make the team somebody is reaching all the time, anyone that wants to make that team, they can. They just reach every round like you. What you've got to do is have a mix of reach here and there for the things you need or to complete certain stacks. But at the end of the day, you need value as well. Like, you need all the things are important. The roster construction, the correlation, the value, all those things come together to build an awesome best ball team. It's not just one or the other.
Talking back about this Josh Allen situation. So I get Josh Allen in the 3rd round. The issue becomes, folks, Diggs is already gone. And then now you're looking at, really, there's only 2 other players that make any sense to you, and that's Dawson Knox, who then people start getting antsy for because they need a tight end, and they figure, well, what the hell? Dawson Knox is a tight end on a good offense. So he kind of gets bumped up a little bit. And then there's Gabriel Davis. So say you're obviously, you don't have Diggs. Josh Allen falls to you. You've got to now hope, like I was, that I could get Gabriel Davis. He went 2 picks before my next pick, so I couldn't get anything to do with him. And then Dawson Knox went off the board a little earlier than usual. He went at 92 when I had Dalton Schultz. I would have came back and maybe got him, and I ended up going.
You probably weren't double tapping the tight ends there anyway. But remember,
I could have. Versus Sky Moore, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, maybe. I think, yeah. I mean, with you having Allen, I guess it's fine. But the thing you got to remember is these stacks, dude. Like, you still had Crowder, you still had McKenzie. There are other. That's the beauty, of the Bills, is there are actually some of these guys that go way later. Like,
I tried. Yeah.
Like, McKenzie didn't go to round 17.
Yeah, he went before I was going to pull the trigger. And Crowder, so I had him queued up. He went in round 11.
Yeah, that's just too early for Crowder.
That's what I'm saying, is now you got guys going like, do you want to reach on a Jamison Crowder? I mean, I'd rather have in the 11th round, I have Jamison Williams. Would you rather have the massive upside of Jamison Williams or Jamison Crowder?
No. It's Jamison Williams.
Yeah, on a good week, he's going to catch 6 balls for 60.
But that is where I'm willing to reach by a round. Like, if I'm sitting there with Josh Allen, right, and I don't have, the stack I want, then, like, just in round 16, you think about, taking, McKenzie. It's just at that point in the draft, like we're throwing darts anyway, right? So it's like, why not just take the guy that stacks with your guy? And if you're right, or it hits big for you on week 17, you win a bunch of money.
Let me ask you about, it's somebody that none of us got, but this Houston backfield, right? We don't talk about Houston a lot on the show, but this backfield now where you've got Dameon Pierce, you've got Marlon Mack, who some people are kind of turning on these days and saying, hey, why can't Marlon Mack be the lead guy there? Do you have any inkling with this? I mean, it's a 16th round when Marlon Mack comes off the board. There's no David Johnson there anymore.
Dameon Pierce or bust. Could care less about Marlon Mack. I don't want a running back sharing a bunch of time on a team that's going to win 4 games. Just not interested. Don't care. I like Dameon Pierce because he's young. He could still be explosive. He could carry an every down role. I'm fine taking a shot on Pierce. I don't really do it that much for the same reasons. Especially, and you like a guy like Pierce more in a full point PPR, right? A little bit less in the half point. But for Marlon Mack, I have 0 exposure and I'm not concerned. I will never look back in my rearview mirror and be like, oh my God, I didn't draft Marlon Mack. I can't win in fantasy football. There's just not a path. So I don't have any Marlon Mack.
I want to chat you up for a second on these round 16 and later tight ends, because I think there's some interesting names here. So we're talking Cameron Brate. He's going to be the starting tight end, we believe, with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Brevin Jordan, young guy with the Texans. We just talked about how shitty they're going to be. Austin Hooper on a Tennessee team that's going to be looking for targets. But, I mean, how much do you really want to put in an Austin Hooper basket? Taysom Hill, we discussed earlier in the show. Hayden Hurst, moving on from the Ravens now to take over that CJ Uzoma role in Cincinnati. And Mo Alley Cox, who could be the starting tight end in Indianapolis now with Matt Ryan. I think of all those guys, Dwayne, Mo Alley Cox is a guy that really jumps off the page to me because they don't have a lot of consistent pass targets there. He's a humongous guy, could be big in the red zone. And we know that Matt Ryan is a professional quarterback who can distribute the ball to these guys. I think Mo Alley Cox, for who he is, in terms of, I mean, what is he, the 15th tight end off the board, is getting slept on a little bit in these drafts.
Yeah, I pretty much the way I approach all of those tight ends, Drake, is I only take them if I have the stack. Like Cameron Brate, I would be willing. I considered Cameron Brate when I went Mac Jones and Kendrick Bourne, right? I considered go ahead and throwing Brate on the team with Higbee and Tunyon, but then when I look at it, I don't have Tom Brady, and I've already got Russell Gage, and I've already got Chris Godwin. That's what just pushed me off of it. And I was like, I'm going to have more leverage here if I just go with Mac Jones and I have him with Kendrick Bourne plus Jacoby Myers. Maybe I get lucky there. I agree on Mo Alley Cox. Like maybe he could come through. Low volume passing offense though, and it's just a coaching staff that has for like I don't know 1.7 billion years, like since dinosaurs, they've rotated tight ends. And they keep drafting them, So we do have Private Jack Doyle did retire. That's shout out to John Hansen. I used to love it when he would do Private Jack Doyle reporting for duty.
You got a problem? Call Jack Doyle.
Yeah, call Jack Doyle. Hansen used to crack me up with that stuff. But anyway, yeah, Mo Alley Cox though could score some touchdowns, and if somebody is to take that over, like it's gonna be him. Just got to remember Jelani Woods, very similar tight end. Built basically like he's a giant. And then you also have from last year Kyler Granson. So my guess is going to be a rotation. But if I did have to put a chip on one of them taking over, I think you're right. The guy that interests me most out of the entire group that you gave me, Austin Hooper, I think is also going to be in a rotation. A guy that's been in a rotation. We've always liked Austin Hooper, just never worked out, right? He's always been in a rotation. Really they've got a tight end, it's been making noise, a rookie, in camp and on Conquo. I have no clue if I just said that name right or not, but the name that I like the most out of all the ones you gave me, and I do like Hayden Hurst. Hayden Hurst and Cameron Brate are very similar, right? They're going to play on passing offenses. They're probably going to be the 4th or 5th option. They're going to give you spike weeks. You can correlate them because you get Cincinnati plays a lot of shootouts. Tampa Bay plays a lot of shootouts. So easy to get that. But if I'm having to pick the guy I hoped And I've seen him go as the last pick in the draft, but tight ends just did not work out this draft. But the guy that I had put in my queue and I was hoping would come back to me in round 17 is the other guy you named in Brevin Jordan, just because he's got the athletic profile we like. We liked what it looked like coming out of college, and it was a small sample last year, but he definitely flashed some of the underlying signals that we like to see on his limited routes that indicate that maybe with a larger role, like he could make some noise in fantasy. We're not super excited really about Houston's offense, but if I had to pick, right, I want a passing down back if I'm in Houston, which is why I would rather have Pierce, and I'd rather have the passing weapons because they're going to trail all the time. And if you get lucky and Davis Mills is good, then you could have something with one of these guys, whether it's Nico Collins, John Mechie, Brevin Jordan, after you get past Brandon Cooks. Maybe one of these other guys could come through. But Brevin Jordan, I do believe, has the profile, not a good team, but his underlying talent profile suggests that he could have more.
All right, guys. Well, that's a pretty fun one. I'm still getting my feet under me here with these drafts. Dwayne, I got to get my butt going here. I mean, geez, Louise, 5 weeks from today, you and I are sitting at Canton, Ohio, at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and I'm drafting the Kings Classic here, and you're sitting, next to me, laughing and poking me for all the terrible picks I'm going to make. I gotta get sharp here. I gotta get my mind right.
Yeah, I'm definitely just going to sit there and make fun of you. Probably no, I'm there. I'll be there to help you. To talk you out of, to talk you into a pick or talk you out of a pick, or you just ignore me.
It's going to be like those old 1980s wrestling tag team matches where the one guy's just getting the shit kicked out of him, right? And he just got, Dwayne's on the apron with the hand out, just waiting for the hot tag. It's like, come on, give me the tag. And then finally, like, I'm crawling across the ring because I'm going to take, Miles Sanders in the second round. And then, Ian Hart is trying to pull me back to the middle, and Drew Davenport's going to drop the elbow on me. And I make the big tag to Dwayne. The crowd goes wild. He comes in and clears house and actually, picks somebody with a pulse, and we go on and we win the league. So that's what we're hoping for.
I love doing drafts with you. We always have fun. I know sometimes we give each other a hard time, but we're always trying to do it like just to give, like, hopefully to help out people that listen to this, and so that they're just thinking through some of the same things when they're on the clock.
No question. I appreciate it. I know that I'm still learning every week, and I mean, nobody is as dialed in as you. As Evan Silva said, a top 3 fantasy analyst on the planet. I'm going to keep using
Evan's just being too. I'm
putting it on a t-shirt,
nice, but
we're going to have Evan's face on a t-shirt. It just says like Dwayne McFarland, top 3 fantasy analyst on the planet.
Well, I definitely appreciate it from Evan, a guy that obviously I like a lot, gave me a big opportunity in this industry. I think it just says a lot, about him as a human being, but just also a lot about, I think if you work hard and, you put content out and people are drawn to it, ultimately there's an opportunity, for you. And there's so many really nice folks in this industry willing to help out. And Evan was one of those for me, along with Matt Waldman. Sigmund Bloom has been very gracious to me. So I feel very fortunate, to have had like these kind of, really, these are huge personalities in the fantasy industry. Mm-hmm. And I know fantasy is changing a little bit, right? Because now we've got TikTok and these social media stars and all these things, but like, this is Mount Rushmore, man. Like these are the people that put fantasy football on the map. All of them great in their own way. So just a lot of really good people in the community. So if any of you are listening and you're wanting to put out content, maybe you're already creating content, hey, keep on going, man. Because like when I first started this, Drake, I remember, I think I had like maybe 100 followers when you reached out to me and we started this podcast. How long ago was that? 4 years, or are we 5 years now?
5 years ago. This is year 5 of the hustle. We're like the third longest running podcast in the history of fantasy football.
And followers and crap like that. But like, from 100 followers to now 31,000, and a lot of really kind people helping me along the way is a major, major part of it. So it's just, keep working, folks. There's a lot of good people that are willing to help out in this industry.
Can we drink with Evan Silva sometime? He looks like a good guy to have a couple of beers.
I want to, for sure. Yeah. And he seems very open to it. He hangs out with a lot of different people and has beers when they're passing through.
We got to get his ass over to the Hall of Fame. I don't know if he's going to show. He's in one of the drafts, but I think it's an online draft.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get him out there. We'll get him on the damn show here. Let's Evan, if you're watching out there, we want you back on the hustle.
We love Evan.
Yes. All right, everybody. Well, thanks so much. We'll be back doing these all summer long. Stay tuned to the podcast platforms for our next show coming fast and furious. So for Dwayne, I am Drake. We will see you next time, folks. Remember to never get out hustled and use promo code HUSTLE over at Underdog, and we'll match your deposit up to $100